Since China started publishing PM 2.5 numbers in its air quality index in 2013, the issue of air pollution has been an important topic for legislators and the public. Shanghai legislators have been talking a great deal about it in Beijing. They want to cope with the problem through interregional cooperation instead of doing it alone. Our reporter Zhang Ningben tells us more.
For legislator Zhang Quan, who is also in charge of the Shanghai Environmental Protection Bureau, it's been a good year as he says the air quality in Shanghai and across the Yangtze Delta region has improved. Zhang says the average index reading for PM 2.5 in 2014 was down by 10% within the Yangtze Delta region compared to the previous year. And the situation was even better in Shanghai as it dropped by 16%. Zhang says that's a result of joint efforts for more than a year.
Factories have used cleaner energy for medium and small-sized boilers. Old vehicles that don't meet national emission standards have been removed from the streets. Straw burning has also been prohibited. Besides, an interregional emergency plan has been set up in case the air is heavily polluted. And we've also made adjustments to industrial structure.
In October of 2013, under the call of the Environmental Protection Ministry, the city of Shanghai and its three neighboring provinces, Jiangsu, Zhejiang, and Anhui, established a joint air quality monitoring and forecasting system. Zhang explained how the system works.
We've launched some research subjects on how to prevent and control severe air pollution. Secondly, we shared that information. Thirdly, we enforce the law hand in hand, and that also includes legislation. Now some environmental protection rules in Shanghai have been connected to those in Jiangsu and Zhejiang. Although so far we can't have a law like the Yangtze Delta region's air pollution prevention and control, we can make some efforts.
But some legislators say the interregional plan is still not enough. Legislator Jing Donghan suggests the emissions from boats should also be monitored in the plan, as the Yangtze Delta region is home to major ports.
For example,
the emissions from an 8,000 TEU container vessel is equivalent to that of nearly 300,000 vehicles, and most of the pollution in ports comes from that emission. In Europe and the US, ships are required to close the engine and use backup power systems when they pull over. Bring China, we don't have such laws or standards either at the ports or along rivers or coastline.
But Zhang says this year's interregional plan will include emissions from boats with the Yangtze Delta region. Besides, there will be a unified carbon emission standard for vehicles that run on streets and those that don't, such as forklifts and cranes. Speaking at a press conference on the sidelines of the NPC session, newly appointed Environmental Protection Minister Chen Jining said that China continues to face severe environmental problems and must make extra efforts to combat them, especially air pollution. He said a good law or plan mustn't be just a paper tiger, but should be used as a sharp weapon. Zhang Ningben, Shanghai Live, Beijing.
To learn more about the country's battle against air pollution, we are now joined by Professor Wu Libo from the School of Economics at Fudan University. Professor Wu is a senior scholar in environmental and natural resources economics. Thank you for coming to the studio, Professor. We know Premier Li Keqiang, he vowed at the National People's Congress that China would take firm hands against air pollution and also other environmental challenges. So how big is this task, and how could the government effectively control the industrial and vehicle emissions?
In general, change the energy structure is the most important measure because China is a coal-dominated country. We have to change our energy structure completely to reduce the environmental pollution. On the other hand, we also need to take lots of measures to try to monitor the end-use processes, which means that we have to strengthen our monitoring processes. We have to intensify our charging systems, and we also need to set up some kind of voluntary processes from the consumers.
China is at its stage of rapid development, and rapid development means that China will consume a lot of energy. So you have studied in many countries, worked and studied in the United States and Japan and Brazil. So what experience can we draw from those countries?
The most important thing is there's no market-based mechanisms. That means that that's why there is no strong incentives for either the producers or the consumers to consume more or produce more environmental friendly goods. So this is the most important thing. That's why you can see that the successful experience of US regarding the SOx emission. This cover all of the power plants and finally all of the industrial plants. Then all of the plants, they can have an overall cap, but they can trade it in the market. They can basically minimize their abatement costs. This is established market by the government, but they do stimulate the enterprises to join these markets. So look at China, we also need such kind of market-based mechanisms.
So we are doing something in this regard. We are doing this quota trading in terms of...
In some regions.
In some regions.
But that's not totally unsuccessful. If you look at experiences of, for example, Jiangsu, Shanghai, they are all the pilot region. But why it cannot succeed? Because that's totally based on the government command. The government just give the quota to the enterprises. Okay, you should, basically make this commitment, but there's no real trading. Why? Because all of the enterprises, they don't know exactly what's the abatement cost of themselves and also other enterprises. The market is not opaque. The market is just a kind of government-based market. It's not a real market.
But we do believe that here in the country, everybody is paying increasing attention to the environmental pollution, and it also creates a lot of opportunities, business opportunities, for those companies who have expertise in environmental protection efforts. So what are the market potential for those companies?
I mentioned the shale gas. So far, at this, we can see most of the key technologies for exploring shale gas is still highly controlled by the U.S. companies. That means that if we can develop our own shale gas related technologies, then it could be a very huge market. And look at for example, the vehicle. So far, the fossil fuel vehicle is still play dominant role, but everybody is also, I think, has noticed the emergence of the electric vehicle, the key technologies of the energy storage. All these technologies can have larger space if we have more strict, policies implemented to deal with the air pollution.
Thank you, Professor Wu, for coming to our studio and sharing your insights with us. Thank you.
Thank you.